Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Guess who's here? And he's not by choice. He came in, but he just wants to say hi. And he's kind of mad. What do you think? Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, we're going to get started, Wally, whether you like it or not. No more feather toy. Okay. Hey, everybody. Good evening, Militia Man and Crew. Actually, both the kitties, Wally and Winnie, are in here, so you're probably going to hear them in the background. Anyway, good things happening. Let's get started. Today is a Monday. It's Veterans Day. And thank you for all of those service members that have gone before us and are with us today. Yeah, God bless everybody. We appreciate your service. We really do. Okay. Here's an article that's called Welcoming the Decision to Include the Private Sector in Electronic Payments. So we all know that Iraq has been moving towards a digital transformation, just like everybody else in the world. They're going to get caught up, and they are being caught up. And they're not going to be alone. There's going to be a lot of different countries in the world that are behind the times. And the focus for the largest entities in the world has been sort of a digital transformation, but basically financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is nothing new. They want equality effectively for everybody to have the same abilities. But I won't get into all that. But this company, the global smart card company called Key, spelled K-I, they welcomed the decision of the Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. And what are they doing? What they're expecting is that they want to expand the electronic payments to include private sector institutions. So they're not only going to do the e-government, the internal, the state institutions, they want the private sector involved as well. And what they're talking about is that they have a decision that represents a new step towards expanding the adoption of electronic payment, making transactions take place in digital framework, and migrating cash transactions. The source said that this step is in line with the directions of the Iraq Central Bank. It's aimed at a complete transition to digital financial transactions. You guys, I don't know if you realize it, but our world's changing, and they're going to transform things fast, furious, transparent, and that's what's happening. But is it going to be a good thing for us investors in the Iraqi dinar? I believe it's going to be. So they go on to say they're working to keep pace with global developments, which obviously they are, but they want to benefit from them and the labor market. They want to create products that suit all segments of society. So obviously they're not going to change their pattern. They're going to keep moving forward, and they're going to keep progressing, because the new technology that's coming out, as you all know, there's XRP, they have the Ripple, they have all these different systems, electronic systems that they're using, whether it's at the borders, whether it's through state institutions. Everybody's going to that digital realm, so it's fast, furious, paperless, easy communication, transparency, easy audit for what? Corruption. It's gonna put a pinch on corruption. This is the way it's going to be. And so you see some of that blowback. That's why you still see articles coming after Iraq, is because those that don't want to play by the rules are lashing out. That's my view from a couple days ago. Here's an article here that says the private bank's capital in Iraq increased by 7.3%. Remember what we talked about. They were trying to do programs and et cetera, to get the money off the street, out of the backyards, under the mattresses, under the beds, in the closets, in the attics. They want to get that money into the banks. They've been successful. It says the Central Bank of Iraq announced on Monday, this morning, that the capital of private banks increased by 7.3%. So he points out that the capital of private banks operating in Iraq increased by 6%, while the capital of government banks increased by 11.1%. Interesting, today is 11/11, and they come out with an article that talks about 11.1. All right, anyway. They explain how many dinars that have been deposited. It's in the trillions. The people have been accepting it. They need they know that they need to get their money into the banks, and they probably have been forewarned that there's going to be some sort of a time limit for them. They need to do this, and if they want to benefit from it, they're going to have to abide by what's going on, and it's working. And I think if they're giving them incentives, if we saw articles that talked about gifts, access to loans, we saw what they said. Okay, so obviously they have an open and notorious program that's been ongoing for quite a while. So the efforts of the central bank appear to be successful, and the money's moving in at a very good clip. In the last 2 years under al-Sudani, obviously what he's been doing, the Central Bank of Iraq's been doing, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Planning, et cetera, all have been on charge. They're just charging it. They're doing great. Here's another article: the new banking system reforms in Iraq. It's straight up new banking system. The Prime Minister al-Sudani announced a series of banking sector's reforms on Friday. This is out today, but it says the main changes include increasing the number of bank branches, more adoption of new technology. That new technology, I believe, is that blockchain technology, and that is where everybody's headed. And you can see it in the markets today. You can see the stock market, for instance. We'll talk about that later. The ISX has been on fire for almost 2 years. You can see our markets, our indices here in the United States, on fire. You see an astronomical situation with Bitcoin, for instance. I'm not talking about them directly, but we're talking markets here. And I think that the Central Bank of Iraq and other central banks take in consideration all markets, not just one, like their local ISX. They take into consideration the global markets. And with Bitcoin being a component of it to some degree, it's on fire. It was at $86,000. I mean, it's like well, I don't know if it's a bubble, but if it is, and if it pops, there's going to be some people that are not too happy. But the bottom line is there's other things that we have in our Patreon room, patreon.com/MMANDCREW. And we have a component. Not only do we study the dinar, but we do have some information for XRP. I don't get into all the different cryptocurrencies and all the different backgrounds, but we just give some information so you can be abreast of interesting things, okay? But here this article talks about the al-Sudani directed several measures to address these challenges that Iraq's been going through. What they're doing is to enhance trust in the financial and banking sectors, facilitate economic development, and increase financial inclusion nationwide. This action has been necessary, and since most efforts have been concentrated in Baghdad, like I said the other night, they're moving out into the rural areas. And from what I understand, and I had the audio in Patreon, you guys can come in and get it. It talks about a video and also an audio of a translation from someone who speaks fluent Arabic and knows the culture and describes what they've been doing. And that is to get the people to come in with the money. That's what we're talking about. And this article is actually in support of what I was telling you the other day. Okay, it says they've increased the number of bank branches. They're adopting modern technologies, developing financial services, enhancing financial inclusion, launching awareness campaigns to the organizations. And what are they going to do? They're talking about the importance of banking. They're talking about the importance of financial management, and they're talking about investment. Okay, investment meaning like, hey, put your money to work, bring it into the bank, and put it in a deposit, get interest on it if that's what they are able to do, and etc. Or put your money in the stock market if you choose to. So they have training workshops for the young entrepreneurs, local business leaders. All those things are happening, and they have happened. They weren't just today. They're talking about over time. The reforms they've been working on have been going on for months. It says the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Iraq, the Association of Private Banks, the Islamic banks will coordinate with provincial governors to implement these measures according to their roles and responsibilities, and quarterly progress reports every 3 months will be submitted to the Prime Minister's office on the status of these initiatives. So all these little initiatives, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all those initiatives, they're going to want to monitor that and get the results. And with the new technologies that they have, they'll have databases, easy to access, easy information. It's going to be powerful, and they're going to learn a lot. And that's when, again, they're going to have a census coming up here on the 20th. It's not necessarily for what we're working with, but it's going to be focused in on their development projects and where the money is going to go for those development projects, etc. Many different things. There's many components to it, so don't just think I'm talking about just one component. There's many. Here's an article that's pretty fascinating too. It's called Mr. Al-Hakim. He says, we support the automation of government sectors to stimulate the economy and move production. I love that. Stimulate the economy, move production. Production means they're going to get that engine moving, okay? That private sector engine. It says the head of the National State Forces Alliance, Mr. Al-Hakim, confirmed on Monday a government support for automating government sectors using modern technology with the aim of stimulating the economy and moving the productive sectors. He's calling for a wider presence of Japanese companies, in this case, in Iraq, and investment in promising opportunities in the fields of reconstruction, development, and digital transformation. You can't imagine the Japanese being involved in the digital transformation, right? They're like a highly technical country. I'm teasing on that. The government is now, automating government sectors. They're using that modern technology to do so. It says the importance of diversifying the Iraqi economy and leaving that rentier state, which is the non-oil state, or no, leaving the rent state, which is the oil, okay? Leaving the rentier state phenomena, indicating that this approach requires activating the industrial, agricultural, tourism, and investment production sectors. So here again, we're seeing they're talking about the non-oil revenue streams for the future. If the Japanese are interested in expanding the presence in the key productive sectors of Iraq's new and diversified economy, it's a good sign. It is truly a good sign. Look, we haven't talked about it yet, but I'm going to mention it just because of this article mentions it ahead of what I wanted to talk about, is that they see what the ISX bull run's done in 2023. It's up 97%. That's pretty big, and it's up even more from 2023. I think it was August was maybe 17%, and it's 37% on the year so far. Again, that's huge, you guys. And the world's going to see that. Investors around the world are going to know it, and that's what they do. Here it is. Market marks a milestone, closing at an all-time high. They're talking about the ISX. It says the equity market as measured by the Arabi Securities US Dollar Equity Index, which is the RSISX USD Index, marked a significant milestone in October by closing at an all-time monthly high, surpassing the January 2014 peak by 1.7%. So back in 2014, they had a big move. I think that we were thinking that it was going to revalue back in 2014, but unfortunately, I think ISIS reared its head. But anyway, the RSISX index was up at 17.6% for the month and is up 37.7% for this year. And that's on the back of that 97%. We'll see that here shortly. However, it says irrespective of whether the market over the next few months rallies further, consolidates, or even pulls back, its overall trajectory is determined by the dynamics that are transforming the Iraqi economy. So part of that economy is you're going to find that the 2023-2024 budget is going to be a component in that. And subsequently, we'll be watching for another component, which is the tripartite budget. 2025 needs to have some things coming from those two specific budgets, and then some, to be fair. It says, other key dynamics are the expansionary 23 and 24 budgets that are boosting the non-oil economy. Isn't that interesting? We've focused on that, right? and the structural changes in the financial sector that are accelerating the adoption of banking and bringing about a transformation of the sector and its role in the economy. So they go on to say, in combination to that, providing the wherewithal for the leading companies in the country to deliver outstanding profits and growth. These dynamics are long-term in making and should continue to unfold over the next year. So they're talking about the company, because of the 23-24 budget's ability to boost the non-oil economy. It says these dynamics are long-term, in the making, and should continue to unfold over the next few years. So it's going to be an ongoing process. The market's outlook for 2024, they're suggesting, following a gangbuster 2023 year, which was, the market was up at 97, there it is, 0.2%. That's a big move, you guys. I mean, could you imagine if you had a savings account that moved up at 97.2% in 1 year? I think you'd be pretty happy about it. I think everybody would be. Okay, so it goes on and says, because of the nature of what's happening in the Middle East, market rallies seem to conflict with if there's going to be an escalation in some of the security issues over there. But it says these images were taken by the author, and they talk about, he showed in the picture in the article, which is in Patreon, you guys can see that they reflect the prosperity, the normality that Baghdad is enjoying over these last few years. So the author of that article was talking about specifically that because of the nature of what's happening, the very large increase in value in the country is because of the security and stability. In the ISX, 97%, you guys, is a big jump. You know, double your income overnight or in a year is huge. Well, overnight would be even better. But all right, so it says this. As I see it, the market appreciates the security and stability that we're seeing. They've been talking about it. Al-Sudani, he has the reins of the country. He's got a 2-year plan. It's nothing but achievements. And again, they're talking about non-oil revenues, and they back it by what? The 2023-2024 budgets, which is what? The investment side of the budget. They're going to have to open that 2024 budget to expose it to be able to actually get to the 2025 budget. And where are we? They're talking about the 2025 budget. Have they exposed the final accounts for 2023 and 2024 yet? Good question. We're going to find out, I think. The government advisor reveals agenda of al-Sudani's visit to Kurdistan. Okay, so this is going to be interesting because it's going to talk about a budget when we talk about these articles. But it says that the Prime Minister's advisor, Mala Shahad, revealed the agenda of al-Sudani's visit to the Kurdistan region of Iraq while confirming that the focus is going to be on pending files with Baghdad and Erbil. I thought I had an article that came out this evening. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe al-Sudani is back from Riyadh, from the summit, okay? And he's back in Baghdad. And so tells me a story that this was today that this article comes out. So I'm assuming al-Sudani will be visiting the Kurdistan region along with Sulaymaniyah. So it says this visit is important and a very necessary and sensitive time for Iraq and the Kurdistan region in general, especially since Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani was able to establish a strong relationship based on mutual trust between the center and Baghdad during the past 2 years. Again, he's had nothing but achievements, making inroads. Al-Sudani's advisor points out that the center needs a harmonious and strong regional government, especially in light of the good and balanced relationships between the region and the center. Region is Kurdistan region, the center is Baghdad. Because the center also needs this government to be in a way that helps develop the relationship between the center and the region and advance the Iraqi situation. They want to move forward. The political situation, they want to move forward. They want to economic situation, they want to move forward with it. And other situations on the same level that Iraq wants to be in general, which is al-Sudani's ballgame. He says, wherever there are failures or pending files, they can be discussed during this visit, noting that al-Sudani, in other words, he's open to talking about everything. If you need, whatever you need to talk about, we need to get it hammered out, let's do it. So noting that al-Sudani will visit Erbil first and then Sulaymaniyah. Okay? One of the things that I wanted to focus in on is because it says here, he stressed that all parties need this session and dialogue based on complete trust and characterized by transparency. high transparency. Everything under the umbrella of the Constitution can be discussed and negotiated. So under the Constitution, that's the citizens' rights. Powerful information right there. He's noting that this problem does not have a strong political character as much as it has a technical and a legal character. So it's a technical thing and it's a legal thing that's got to be talked about and taken care of. It says except for the federal laws, meaning that the budget law that was already passed in Iraq's parliament, where the Kurds had voted on it in a very large number. So they're talking about the tripartite budget. The 23-24 final accounts need to arrive before the 2025 counts can happen. The investment budget is what everybody's been waiting for, is to have that set up and ready. Those financial tables, those final accounts needed to be done. And they probably, I believe, are probably on the table at this time or have been done. For them to mention that today and that budget law, which has been passed, and remember that it was implicit. The 23-24 budget was implicit for things to happen. And that means the investment side of things were supposed to be taken care of and will be. So when they say implicit, I take that as an absolute. So the absolute portion is before the HOR was to accept the 2025 budget tables or even receive it, they would have to have those accounts, 23 and 24 final. Remember now, back in 2014, I believe I have the data tonight, is that they have all final accounts all the way through 2023 ready to go. 2024, did they show it yet? Did they expose it yet? They haven't yet. Not that I'm aware of. If you have it, bring it in. But as we go back in time a little bit, you guys, so if you go back in May 8th of 2024, it says here that the negative impact of delaying the budgets and in approving them, these schedules, those tables, may be reflected in what? The new investment projects not previously included in the tripartite budget. These projects need a new approval for Parliament, but their impact is not extremely harmful to the validity of the budget, especially since the operational expenses have been approved, the basic paragraph related to the salaries, wages, social protection, retirees, etc., 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 and the ration cards, medicines, wheat, everything. So it says all are valid and payable. So they are able to pay that stuff under the 23 budget, etc. And they say even if the schedules are not approved, as happened in the years 2020 and 2022, the government can currently still proceed. And Look, the government basically at this stage of the game back then was talking about they are currently proceeding with the tripartite general budget law that's been approved in Iraqi parliament. It's that simple. Meaning that the approval of the 2024 budget is implicit, absolute. That's my definition of that. The budget is currently within the normal rates in effect according to the system of 1/12 of last year's budget. So now on April 30th, Prime Minister, this is 2024, April 30th, so we got to go back in time a little bit. It says that al-Sudani discussed with the House Speaker of Representatives, Mandelawi, the completion of the 2024 budget schedules and sending them to the House of Representatives for a vote is on the table. So a reminder, the House of Representatives voted on June 12, 2023 on the federal budget law for the years 23, 24, and 25, which is basically a budget that's first of its kind in the history in terms of the size of budget as well as the number of fiscal years. It's a 3-year budget. What do they need to do? They have to keep moving forward, and so subsequently we're going to find that in June, so that was April, now in June they're talking about 2024, a systematic and specific plan was developed with a specific completion date for final accounts for the remaining years. As for the final accounts of the ministries individually, it will continue to be approved for several years up until 2023. Okay, so if you go a little bit further into this, you find that it says here, the State Council has completed. So this is in December, back up just a smidgen. Prior to that article, it tells us, I brought a snippet in, you can find this in Patreon. It says that the State Council has completed the completion of auditing the instructions for implementing the financial budget for those 3 years. The achievement took place in the presence of the Ministry of Finance, Taif Sami, Ministry of Planning, relevant authorities, in the purpose of what? Facilitating the procedures for implementing the tripartite budget. So look, that's where they were then, and up until June, right? And now here in October 2024, October 24th, it says here the 2025 budget cannot be passed. This is the article name, you guys. The 2025 budget cannot be passed without sending the final accounts for the past 2 years. Okay? We have this in Patreon. So he goes on to say that in the same context, a member of the Economy, Industry and Trade Committee, Yasser Al-Husseini, confirmed that it's not possible to approve the 2025 budget without obtaining final accounts for the previous budgets. Right? And what are they talking about? They were talking about they were going to be getting those 2025 budget tables. Did they get them yet? Well, sometimes these guys are a little bit underhanded or a little bit sneaky, and they try to keep sensitive information, as they said earlier. It's sensitive for Iraq. Okay. It says here the current government differs from previous governments because one of its most prominent goals is to improve the current economic reality by fighting corruption in any form and under any circumstances. Al-Sudani fits that. The previous governments, Mahdi, Awadi, each and every one of them, they just didn't do what Kathimi, they just didn't do what Al-Sudani's doing. Okay, so it says Parliament is waiting for the final accounts of 2023 and 2024 budgets to be sent, after which, okay, they need that, after which the budget will be considered for approval. So they'll have to review it, approve it, noting that if the budget is submitted to the House of Representatives without final accounts, this is considered an aspect of corruption. So they're not going to allow that. The House of Representatives refuses to receive a budget without the final accounts tables for the past 2 years. That is where we are, you guys, waiting to see if they can pull this off to get that money invested. And because, as they said, it's implicit. The investment side of the budget is implicit. It's got to be taken care of. They've got to get moving if they're not already, as we speak. Okay. The committee is closely following up on how the budget funds are distributed to ensure that they are used effectively to serve citizens and enhance the national economy in ways to increase government revenues by developing the tax and customs system will be discussed from time to time. So look, the 2024 budget they've mentioned, as I just said, it hasn't been exposed just yet. And we're literally waiting to see if they can expose it. I think that they have some, as they said, there's some legal issues. And it's very important. That's what he said. That's what Al-Sudani, his advisor, was talking about. That was today, talking about how that was important. There was some legal, some technical issues. That's exactly what they're saying. Government advisor explains the details. So this is on October 29th, so it's about 5 days later from that one I just read to you. It says the government advisor explains the details of 2025 budget. We're counting on oil prices. They say that next year's budget 2025 will not deviate from the constants approved in the federal general budget law, the 3-year budget submitted by the government and approved by the House of Representatives for the years 23, 24, and 25. So they just talked about that. Okay, it tells you a little bit more about it. It tells you the $70 a barrel. They talk about the deficit, et cetera, but the bottom line is that we're at that stage where the 2025 budget, for them to receive it, they need the final accounts for the 23 and 24. But we already were told back in December 2022 and into April that all the budgets from 2014 on forward have been audited final accounts. That right there is huge, you guys. It really is. No deviation from the 2025 budget in 2 years. Final accounts 2023 will need to be sorted before the 2025 budgets can even be considered. So in other words, if they're going to be talking about having it on their table, it's already probably done. And we're just waiting to see. That's how I read it. If that's wrong, then we'll see. But I don't think so. I think we're actually at that stage. So thanks for being with me tonight, you guys. I'm glad you were here on a Monday. Hope you guys enjoy the game tonight. If that's what you like, please do. Thanks for being with us. If you like the content, of course, always appreciated. Subscribe, hit that like button. And again, thank you guys for everything you do. All your donations have been phenomenal, and it does help keep our content moving forward. So thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.